Hello, everyone, and welcome to Cinema Savvy. You're joined today by Tayte and George, and we are back on the films from the London Film Festival. Yes, we are still going through them all. There are so many that we have seen, and we do need to somehow get through them because I'm going off soon. So we're getting through these very, very slowly, but please stay tuned for more films to come. If you would like to follow us on social medias for more information on when our uploads are, then please follow us on Instagram at cinema_savvy. It's exactly the same on Twitter, cinema_savvy again, and on Facebook at Cinema Savvy. Just type it in and you should be able to find us. How are you doing today, George?
I am well. I'm ready to talk about Christian Bale and motor racing. The first thing we're going to talk about is the title.
Yes.
Le Mans 66 / Ford v Ferrari. Le Mans is the race. Ford v Ferrari is the two car companies, for those that really don't know. The drama we have over here in Europe, where, to be fair, I don't want to annoy any Americans. I know you've got your rally car racing, but racing is bigger in Europe. All kinds of, there's more motorsport. The motorsport's varied. It's one of them where when they announced this film, I can understand why the Americans, it's not really their sport. 24 they're into, like, I know they've got like Daytona and stuff like that, but this was very much one of like this is one of the Triple Crown. Le Mans 24 Hours. If anyone knows what the Triple Crown is, this film doesn't because they got it wrong. Triple Crown is to win the Formula One Monaco Grand Prix. It's to win, obviously, Le Mans 24-hour race, and the American one is Indy 500. Only one driver in history has done it because two of the races are on the same weekend every year, so it's impossible for someone to pretty much do. But no, this film is called Ford v Ferrari in, I think, North America, and in Europe it's Le Mans 66. Now, I personally prefer the Ford v Ferrari name.
As a person, like, I mean, if you're from Europe, you don't even have to know about motor racing. You know of Le Mans. You know what the race entails. Like, it's just kind of a general knowledge thing that people just know. It has that notoriety with it. And I know that American audiences don't have that kind of same connection to the race in itself.
Yeah. It's like Rush. Like, F1's not big in America. I know it's got bigger over the last decade, with Lewis Hamilton being a big thing over there. The American Grand Prix, they're trying to get a second American Grand Prix, which I detest the idea of. It's a sport where I think it's a hard sell. Now, this film, jumping straight into it, I really want to say, is essentially not propaganda, but let's be honest, it is.
It's Ford propaganda.
Yeah, like when you the obvious comparisons, Rush. We said this, I think, before we went in, and we said this after the film. Rush is, to me, it's in my top 10 films of all time. Obviously, it's my favorite. Well, my second favorite sport. Rush was a beautiful film. It's a rivalry film. Nicky had James Hunt, and it balanced two drivers in an argument. Now, with this one as well, what we want. Sorry, someone just commented. Tate.
Yeah, that's on me. Sorry, I was
wrong. We'll let that slide. We can fix that in post. Do not worry about that. One of the things with this film is that it's Ford v Ferrari, but there's not really a versus. It's more of Ferrari really pissed off Ford, or Ford brackets America versus Ferrari brackets rest of the world. It's not even trying to be neutral. The film sets off from the get-go. I'm not even going to real life story. I believe some characters are apparently made up for this, but it's essentially, Ferrari insults Ford, as in Enzo Ferrari, the creator, insults, is it William Ford III, or whoever the grandson of the creator of Ford. And it's basically, they really pissed us off, so we're going to make a car better than them, and we're going to win. That's the plot of the film. It's a lot more than that. You bring in Christian Bale, who plays Ken Miles, who is I'm not going to lie, I didn't know too much about Ken Miles going into this. So I'm going to sit there as a professor of like motor racing. Obviously, Matt Damon plays not Thomas Shelby, because that's Peaky Blinders. Which Shelby is it he plays in this?
He plays Carroll Shelby.
That's the one. So Carroll Shelby is very famous, more so than Ken Miles. This is interesting. Christian Bale and Matt Damon, two leads. What's more interesting, when this film got announced, there was rumors for a long time that Christian Bale was going to play Enzo Ferrari in a biopic, and then when he got signed onto this film, it was shut down. Well, I say shut down. It was he also left the project because he can't do a film about Ferrari and then be the guy in the other Ferrari film.
I'd say the performances between them wasn't bad. It's not performances that are going to light the world on fire. I know that Christian Bale last year did a brilliant performance in Vice, and Matt Damon always seems to pull out good performances. He was he nominated for The Martian?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah,
I think. Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was.
Yeah. So they're not bad actors. I did have a problem with this film, though, overall. If going into overall thoughts from the off, this wasn't a bad film. This wasn't a ridiculously good film. It was kind of the high end of average. And for me, at least, it felt like a very Oscar baity film. It felt like it was pandering a lot to American audiences, and you can almost tell that from kind of the perspective they take in the film itself. It is majority or almost the entire film from the Ford perspective, even if the title is called Ford v Ferrari. And I took a little bit of issue with that.
Yeah, I'm in not a similar but different. I mean, this is in my top 10. I thought it was a lot better than average. I thought it was a very fun watch. I think I don't want to say informative because there were so many inaccuracies. I think this film is completely carried by Christian Bale. Matt Damon's fine. He's fine in the film. He doesn't put anything wrong. He doesn't particularly do anything outstanding. But Christian Bale carries this. He reminded me of, oh Christ Almighty, what's his name? Dick Van Dyke in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. I don't know if it's because he's got like the neck. He's lost. Obviously, you've seen him in Vice last year. Now he's lost all that weight. He's gone back to like method, well, not method, but he's playing a race driver in this. And Christian Bale, I loved in it. He was the most interesting character by a country mile. He had the best scenes. He was ultimately. I'm not going to tell the ending of the film or the real life story. But for someone that didn't know it myself as well, I think Christian Bale carries this, and there's talk of him. I mean, best supporting actor. I don't think this is an Oscar bait. I thought it would be.
Yeah, I can't remember. He wasn't.
He's a favourite to be in the shortlist.
Yeah,
but I think it's going to be. I think best supporting actor is more competitive than best actor next year. And I hope he gets on it because I think he's great. It's nice to see him. He hasn't really done too much recently. I know that's the kind of the sign of the good actors that pick their projects wisely, but he's got that. I mean, I really did not like Vice. I've said that before. I had a lot of issues watching that.
His performance in it though was very good. Yeah,
and seeing how much weight he lost again. I mean, seeing how much weight he put on for that, let alone him losing it straight after.
But even though I liked his performance in this film, I feel like his performance in Vice was a lot better.
Oh yeah, I mean, he was the lead. He should have won the Oscar this year. I'm not going to get into a debate about Bohemian Rhapsody. Joaquin Phoenix sung and walked the line. He recorded his own singing. It was his voice. He didn't win Best Actor. Rami Malek mimes, and there's your Oscar win because he looks like him. Not to criticize Rami Malek too much. I did enjoy Bohemian Rhapsody, but I mean, it's worse. It's like Rocket Man was a million times better for a start. Let alone Queen's just more popular. I mean, this isn't a Bohemian Rhapsody.
No, we're moving off here.
Moving on, yeah. I think Christian Bale carries this. Not many other actors do. John Berthel's in this, and he's like, most people are like, they're just fine. It's like I know you said above average.
I take issue with this film. This film is meant to be going for the big awards and everything like that. It is kind of thrown into that Oscar race. It was one of the main headline films at this film festival that we went to, but everything in the film just felt fine. There wasn't anything that was ridiculously spectacular. There was some parts of the direction which were quite good when they were racing or when they were driving the cars around or anything like that. But there was only one standout thing, and that was Bale, and everything else was just fine. And if it's going to be pushing for those awards and pushing towards kind of more recognition, it doesn't really have much to stand on.
I think it'll get sound. I think it'll be the typical traditional. It'll get both sound nominations. I don't see costumes and whatnot. The thing is, racing's niche. And the problem is that Rush didn't get a single Oscar nomination because it wasn't an American sport. It was about a British and an Austrian. This is about America versus the rest of the world. It's the rest of the world. So I don't think this is as Oscar bait as I think. as it could have been. I don't want to say I had higher expectations because I think it delivered on that. But for someone that doesn't know about not a lot about 24-hour racing, I know people that watch it religiously for 24 hours, which is insane that people do. Which you can respect that. It's gone down very well with the fans of the sport, which is, to me, when it comes down to these, I know we don't get many sports films, and this doesn't really feel like a sports, but it's the most important thing is that accuracy, and the edit. It's like Rush. The editing's great. The craft is there. I think James Mangold's direction is very good, but ultimately it's just not interesting enough. It reminded me of not First Man. I think First Man was better made than this. But ultimately, First Man was about a very, very boring individual.
Yeah.
It would have been far more interesting had First Man actually been like Second Man, because the other astronauts had far more interesting lives, or the space race as a whole. Picking Neil Armstrong was a silly mistake. With this one, the whole Ford v Ferrari, Christian Bale is the supporting actor, but deep down, to me, he's the lead. He has the most interesting character. He's got character driven. He's got emotion. He's got the family story. But Matt Damon's the highest build, and they build up Shelby, but ultimately you don't really care for him. You're there for Christian Bale.
Yeah.
I think it was a mistake marketing this as Ford v Ferrari. I think this should have really been about Ken Miles, a driver that's not very well known, that could have made it far more interesting.
Seriously, all you have to do is call the film Miles. That's literally all you have to do.
And I don't think people would have not funded it. But I could see in this film, the actor of Ford, he's this obnoxious, I'm Ford, I'm American, this is how my granddad did it, this is how I'm going to do it.
America!
Yeah, it is. It's fully America. And you can imagine, like, that was how James Mangold doesn't strike me as the kind of, not Michael Bay. James Mangold's a very good director. It felt very out of character, I want to say, for him to pick a film with so much bias like this, especially when he's in films like Walk the Line. He's done Logan. I think he did one of them weird Tom Cruise action films. It was a very odd switch. I think the story was probably there, but I reckon he was probably had to adhere to studio rules for this.
I feel like he had to as well. And I came out the cinema and immediately said to everyone it felt really Oscar baity. And you guys kind of turned around and was like, what do you mean by Oscar baity? And I feel like this has had a lot of studio influence into the film itself, which tends to never be a good thing. It also is that kind of American message, American kind of feel to it. The actors feel like they're almost hamming up their performances. The drama feels overinflated past what it should be. There's a couple of low-key scenes which in any normal film, you compare it to like Marriage Story. Marriage Story hits harder because they have those low-key moments and everything like that to balance out the big moments. This film is just like, oh, we've got a big moment. Okay, we're going to throw another big moment in straight away just to keep the audience almost engaged. And I just didn't think it worked. I feel like this film could have done a lot better if it's shown more from the Ferrari side as well and actually had the balance between the two.
Well, that's the issue, because the reality is that Enzo Ferrari is a natural born winner, and reading, I'm not going to sit here and read out the real life things, but this isn't a spoiler. This is the first 20 minutes. Ford try and buy out Ferrari, and it's just a ploy by Ferrari to get bought out by Fiat, which is obviously real life. The real life situation of this is that they bought like 5% of the company and didn't actually buy them until like 10, 20 years later or something like that. And this film wanted to exaggerate that. It felt, again, I didn't see Oscar, but I just see it as a proper, like, just America patriotism. I don't see anything more than that. It's a shame because I think, you look at Ken Miles as well, he's from Birmingham, and when I say Chitty Chitty Bang Bang with Christian Bale's accent, he's, Ken Miles probably did sound like that. Christian Bale's not the kind of guy that would take the mick with stuff like that. He's a very intense actor. And it was nice seeing him with Matt Damon, but Matt Damon just felt like Matt Damon. Like, every time he pops up, it's always Matt Damon. He's kind of in that niche of being himself and everything he's in. Like a Jeremy Renner type. Obviously a bit better than that. I don't think I was disappointed. I think the more I've looked back, I've not enjoyed it as much as that first screen, but I am very intrigued to see it again at the cinema. I don't think it's out till sort of late November over here. But obviously, like, we've got family into motorsports, so I do want to take people to watch a bit.
It is released on 15th of November. It is released.
But I think it'll be one. It will get a couple of nominations, no wins. I would like to see Bale as supporting actor, but I don't know because that looks very
Supporting
competitive.
actors very competitive this year. You've got Joe Pesci from The Irishman.
No.
Yep. They'll both probably get nominations for
Charlie
it.
Booth's like one of the outside rumors. Christ Almighty, there's loads of people. Brad Pitt's the favorite at the minute. There's a very tough year. As best actor, it's Adam Driver versus Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah,
No get near them two. It's them two on their own little thing. And personally, I think Marriage Story is going to be the more Oscar appealing film, but I also think it's going to have more momentum. Everyone's saying Adam Driver's the favorite, and in theory, Marriage Story is not actually out yet, which says a lot, I think, as well.
Yeah.
But Matt Damon, I don't think he's got a chance for Best Actor. I know he's the Bill. In theory, Christian Bale. It reminded me of Green Book, where Christian Bale, Mahershala Ali was the lead. In theory, it was about him, but it's done via the viewpoint of Vigo. Obviously, this is done via the viewpoint of Shelby, and I think mistake.
There's been a lot of debate in that over the years. I think the one that sticks out for me was Carol. That one was a very interesting year for cinema. I just want to check. Rooney Mara was nominated for Best Supporting Actress when arguably the entire story of the film was told from her perspective. And Cate Blanchett was, even though she was the title character, she was not in the film for very long and got the lead nomination. And did she win it? I can't remember. She may have won it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was just like, well, she shouldn't have even been nominated for that category. She wasn't even the lead character. So films have a way of getting around that nowadays with the whole kind of top billing and everything like that. You could have a supporting actor who has more screen time and more screen presence than the lead actor get nominated for a lead actor. Or vice versa. You could have the lead actor actually get nominated for supporting because they feel like they've got a better chance of winning it with that. And I feel like with Bale here, he will get nominated for supporting, probably. But honestly, is he the lead? Is he not the lead? It's an interesting kind of debate.
Yeah, and I think the second movie is going to be interesting, but I would like to see Bale. Again, he's not going to win. I think he could be an outsider for, as I said, it's Pacino, Pacino, Joe Pesci, and Brad Pitt. They're the most. I think Brad Pitt's the favorite. I think Sheila Booth could be a very interesting dark horse. I'm going to use this moment to pipe up the Honey Boy review, which will come out at some point this week.
And also pipe up the Peanut Butter Falcon review.
Yeah, very big year for Shire, which is very exciting. Honey Boy, I'm very looking forward to rewatching it out in December. But I know we're talking the festival and whatnot. We've got this stuff. I know we're talking this film for the private. When you're there for the 8 days, when you see so many films out which they have, you do have that window looking into Oscar season, and it's been fascinating seeing it from the early standpoint, seeing what people are talking about, knowing you've seen a couple. Obviously, I haven't seen The Irishman yet. I'm going to try and get to a cinema release, but they've really messed up this quote November the 8th thing they're talking about. But there's some very interesting films. There's some outsider picks. I'm excited for this year. I think what I will say as a whole right now, 2019 is shaping up to be one of my favorite years of cinema from this decade.
Yeah.
Considering how poor the first, I'd say, 4 months were, it's remarkable turnaround. I've seen a lot of people saying the same. There's some big films I missed out on. Obviously, Lighthouse is one I spoke to you about, which is the one I really wanted to see. I hope it gets out earlier than it does in February. So there's been really good films. We've seen some great films at the festival, and there is plenty more coming this way. But for Ford v Ferrari, there's honestly not too much. When it's real life as well, when you can just go on Wikipedia, type in Le Mans 1966, everything you need to know is on there. And as I said, Shelby was not an interesting person. It's all about Christian Bale. And that's kind of who he does carry the film, and you get a great performance out of him. And again, it's kind of, we don't see him in enough films, but I'd like to see him do some more. I know that obviously he picks them wisely, which is the right choice, but when you go out to that good, whenever he puts his name down for something, it does make you intrigued.
I completely agree. So thank you ever so much for watching, guys. Please be sure to follow us on social media. That is at cinema_savvy on Twitter and on Instagram, and search up Cinema Savvy on Facebook as well. And please stick around the channel, subscribe to us, like, comment as much as you can. We love viewer feedback and everything like that. And we will have more videos coming out soon to do with the London Film Festival, as we've got still 4 or 5 more to go through, possibly, before we have done all the films that we've seen at the festival. So thank you ever so much for watching, and we will see you guys next time.